Hey everybody, this is Diane. Hello and welcome to Biters.
And this is Marnell. And if you're listening to this, you're still here and you deserve a medal.
Right. If you're still diehard watching like us, you deserve a medal.
Yeah. Let's hope that one of our fans that you're watching just so you can listen to us.
Was that Victoria?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
too. Hello, Victoria. How are you?
Are you still here?
So, obviously, we're talking about fear. We're talking about
Obviously.
season 5, episode 11. In my notes, I have season 10, episode 11. It
Not quite.
feels
That's
like
the other
season
Walking Dead,
10,
right?
but it doesn't feel like season 10 in a good way.
No. No. I feel like you're still here,
Right.
which is the title of this episode. And I think
So,
it was kind of obvious what it meant.
well, but I had a little more to say about the title, so we'll get there.
Okay.
All right. Tell me your rating.
I rated it a 3.4 manuscripts to die for.
I totally don't get the whole manuscript thing, but we'll go there. All right.
Yeah, I hope that they go there because I'm like, really? Anyway,
I couldn't figure out why someone thought a manuscript was worth dying for.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, what was your rating?
All right. It was 3.12 ledges I'm perched on and waiting to be talked off of out of 5.
Oh man, maybe I'll come rescue you and repel you down.
You mean you're not going to?
No. No, I rated it point 0.1 higher than last week because I just really didn't like last week's, and this week wasn't that much better, but it was slightly better because of Wes.
So I kind of waffled because there were some moments that I really liked in this episode, so I felt like I should have rated it higher. But overall, I'm just uninspired by this season of Fear, so
So, I mean, I do feel like we're building to something larger, and they alluded to it a couple of times in this episode.
big boy and big girl stuff. Don't get me started on the writing because I will go there too.
Well, and Andrew Chambliss said that the end of this season is going to be a change in narrative approach on how we tell stories in season 6. So he said they're reinventing the show. So
I read that. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I know, because this episode, I really got the feeling that they're gonna kill like Alicia or Strand, or they're gonna kill somebody big.
We'll go there too. Because I'll tell you what my wish is, but I'll tell you what my wish is when we get to our goods, bads, and uglies.
All right.
All right, so numbers. Last week, I looked to see if Fear made the top 25 overall for cable. It did not. Yellowstone did, and I'm kind of interested in that, probably more than anything because of the horses. But but overall, last week, Fear did not make the top 25. This week, I'm guessing it's probably in the same boat. They don't have the overall for the week out, but it did make 5th on Sunday in both the 18 to 49 and in the overall group. So they had 14 point, I'm not 14. Oh my God, that's like a fantasy. They had 1.435 million views same day. Around 400, 500,000 in 18 to 49. I finally looked up what point 4 in 18 to 49 means.
Mm-hmm.
It's right around between 4 and 500,000, but what it really means, and I did a deep dive on Reddit about what TV ratings mean. Point 4 pretty much means for any other series it would be in cancellation territory.
Okay, so the writer at Forbes that we like to talk about, Paul Tassi, did an article recently on how low is too low for Fear the Walking
Oh,
Dead
I
ratings.
saw that. I didn't read it, but I saw that.
Okay, so for AMC, The Walking Dead, of course, is their flagship show. It beats everything times 3. The next down on the list is Better Call Saul. So Walking Dead averages about 5 million viewers. Better Call Saul is about 1.53. Fear the Walking Dead is third at 1.37, and
And that was the low at that point. That's the low that has
right,
happened for Fear.
right. Nosferatu is at 0.68. Preacher is at 0.54.
Wow.
Into the Badlands, which is canceled, is at 0.46. And of course, we're in the last season of Preacher. And then Lodge 49, which I haven't seen anything on, is 0.31. So Fear the Walking Dead is still the third largest show on the network. So they're not canceling it anytime soon.
Well, and we know that they've greenlit season 6. It'll be interesting
Right.
to see if it makes it beyond 6.
Right. I guess it's going to depend on this reinvention in season 6 and if it draws viewers back.
Well, they successfully did it with the main show to a certain degree. So
Right.
it'll be interesting to see if they are successful doing it with this show.
And they've had, like, this season 5B for me started out with such promise. The first episode I loved.
I know you did, and I don't get that.
And also they did the whole reinventing the show, and that really worked for last season 4, I think.
It really
right?
worked for last season.
Yeah.
I agree.
And so it can be done. Just do it already.
So the real Alaskan housewife who does not podcast with us stopped watching the found footage. She was like, I'm done.
Aww.
I don't know if she'll come back, but she did not like that episode at all.
Yeah, see, and I am in the minority, and I loved it. I didn't love it like I, loved season 4, but it was better than anything in season 5A.
I don't agree. I still think the end of everything was probably the best so far this season.
It was good.
All right, so the title, You're Still Here, it obviously refers to the trees.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that I was thinking is that it kind of refers to both Morgan and Alicia realizing that they're still present and still alive and still have to be part of the group,
That's a good way of looking at it, because I feel that this was a really downer episode for both of them, and I think that's a big reason why I didn't like it. And hopefully this You're Still Here and their sort of awakening at the end of the episode gets them out of this funk.
Okay, so I totally remember when we were talking about the Alicia and Diana show, like back in season 3.
I just rewatched that episode.
Now I'm like, what? There was such promise there. They were so badass together. And now Alicia is so traumatized by killing a radioactive walker that she doesn't want to kill.
So I wasn't sure if I missed something. Was she traumatized about the radioactive walker blood, or was she traumatized about having to cut her way through that horde?
I think she was traumatized by the radioactive walker blood. The way that I read it was like total PTSD. Oh my God, I killed this radioactive walker. I'm going to die.
So that's what a lot of articles got from it. But she had a flashback at one point of herself, like having to cut through all of the walkers when she rescued the kids.
But the thing that they really focused on was her getting splashed in the face by the radioactive walker.
Yeah, and she was the scene in the beginning where the tree got spattered with blood was, she kind of had this look on her face like she was shell-shocked.
We're totally already in rotting potpourri. I think they were trying to imply that she had PTSD from killing the radioactive walker. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. I will believe that also because it seems to be the popular opinion, and I'm really not... I don't have the energy to go against the crowd on this one.
You're going to save your energy for other things. For big boy and big girl things.
Exactly.
All right. So our writers were Mallory Westfall and Alex Delisle. Both of them have written for Fear before. So Mallory has 2 episodes as primary writer, this one and The Little Prince, but she has 11 episodes as an executive story director. And then Alex Delisle has 16 episodes as a staff writer, 11 as a story editor, and 4 as a primary writer, including this one. And The Hurt That Will Happen, The Code, and Buried, which was episode 4 of season 4. I had to go back and look that one up.
Yeah, I know we've talked about Alex quite a bit, and we've had a lot of mixed episodes, so
I'm going to be totally honest and out myself. I was looking at Alex Delisle's picture thinking that Alex was a woman, but then in the bio, they said he. So I'm not really sure what gender Alex is.
So we've actually had this we've had this conversation before, and it's kind of like, doesn't matter. He, she, doesn't matter.
He, she, I'm still not impressed with the writing. It was not particularly good writing this episode, although there were some moments that were good.
I was going to say it depends on what Alex contributed to the writing, because there were some good parts.
All right, I'm willing to give you that. Okay, our director, on the other hand, this is crazy. So our director was this person named Casey Caldwell. First ever primary director credit, but tons of assistant director credits on multiple things that we would recognize, like The Wolverine, Benny and June, Jumpin' Jack Flash. Casey worked on The Mist, which that's really significant because that was a Frank Darabont production. And it had Laurie Holden, Jeff DeMunn, and Melissa McBride in the cast well before Walking Dead actually premiered.
So, and it's The Mist, of course, is the Stephen King novel, and it was turned into a movie, and then they turned it into a series. I loved the movie, and I loved season 1 of the series.
Well, and the thing that I go back to is it's just so significant because all 4 of those people came together and then eventually ended up in the first season of Walking Dead.
Right.
So anyway, I thought that was really interesting. Casey Caldwell has also worked on Outcast, which is a Kirkman property that was optioned by, I want to say, Cinemax. I downloaded the first season, but, only kind of got into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Casey has also been the assistant director on 13 episodes of Fear prior to this one and 17 episodes of Walking Dead. So Casey has worked on Walking Dead for a long time.
Yeah, I love some of these credits. Beetlejuice, Tales from the Crypt, Benny and June, 10 Things I Hate About You. That is quite the colorful background.
Very much. And a long history of working in film.
Yeah. Yeah, I was 3 when these IMDb credits started.
That's all I really have on the writers and the director. It sounds like you have quite a bit on our featured cast.
I do. And this was a big, deep dive. So, of course, our featured cast member is Wes, a.k.a. in real life, Colby Jamal Holman. So if you look up his IMDb, this and one other short, Funny How Things Happen, are his only credits to date. So he just graduated from Conservatory of Theater Arts at Purchase College.
Which I had to look that up because I had never heard of Purchase College, but it's actually a part of the State of New York University system.
Yes.
And there were several other famous people who are alums from the same program, like Parker Posey, Wesley Snipes, Edie Falco, and Sherry Stringfield, who you probably don't remember, but I remember her from ER.
So I found a couple of others that I was really interested in that are also alums of this college. Stanley Tucci.
Oh, I didn't realize Stanley Tucci had gone there. That's cool.
Yeah, and Zoe Kravitz.
Oh.
And Ving Rhames. So those were the 3 that really jumped out at me, in addition to the ones that are listed on the IMDb profile. So in 2014, he was actually nominated for a scholarship. He was a semifinalist for a scholarship
Colby was.
Colby was, yes. Theater Arts Department Senior Colby Holman and Math Science Department Senior Caitlin Miner have been named National Achievement Scholarship semifinalists. So what it takes to get into this is basically you have to be in the top 1% of the PSAT scores. Yeah. So he's no slouch.
Well, I definitely think he was a very bright light in this episode.
He was. And so I was really surprised that the things that I found on him were not listed on his IMDb. So one of them that I found is a short called Dinner, and it's on Vimeo. And that's the only place that I found it. And it's only about 5 minutes long, and it's very minimalist dialogue. But it kind of has the feel of Jordan Peele's Get Out.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a really good one. So I encourage you to check out Vimeo Dinner with Colby Holman. The other one I was super interested in. So a GoFundMe was started by the writer and director of a movie called Libba. And they were able to get the GoFundMe funded because it was only $3,500. The movie Libba is about the folk singer Elizabeth Cotten.
Never heard of her, and I listen to a lot of different music.
Right? Okay, so she was born, I think, in the 1890s.
Aha.
And at 13, she taught herself left-handed guitar, and she was a young black woman. She was about 13. She taught herself left-handed guitar on a right-handed strung guitar. It kind of sounds like it was the only thing she could afford, and so she did it like backwards and upside down. And she wrote a song, but then for 40 years, nothing. She did not become famous until she was in her 60s.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is a super interesting story, and they were raising money for the GoFundMe to cover travel expenses and the rights to some of the music, and they were able to get it, and so they are trying to really circulate the movie in all of the film festivals around the country. So if you happen upon a film festival and there is a movie called Libba, Libba, I would encourage you to go see it. You can watch the trailer for it. It's about 4.5 minutes on Indiegogo. And it looks like a really good movie, and it also stars Colby Holman.
I was just going to ask you, what's his role with it?
It doesn't. He's not actually in the trailer for it, but when he put it out on Facebook, he put it out on December 4th, 2018, which was his birthday. So he's a December baby. He was sharing the GoFundMe in order to get it supported. And he said that he was in it. So that's what encouraged me to go look it up and watch it. But it looks like a really, really good movie. And I'm really surprised that it is not listed on his IMDb, because it definitely, it looks like a good one. And I think that more people should know about it.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was kind of my deep dive on him, because there was really, really not much on his IMDb. So go watch Dinner on Vimeo and go find Libba, at least on the GoFundMe. And if you can see it, if you can actually see the movie, I encourage you to do so.
Now, you mentioned to me that he took over Fear's Instagram on Sunday.
He did, yes. So he had a viewing party for this episode, because, of course, this was his big episode. Not his first, but his biggest. And he answered questions and posted some video and everything. So it's only about 3 minutes of video if you go watch it on a loop on Instagram. But, yeah, I didn't really do a deep dive on the questions he answered and everything. Kind of wish Instagram was a little more user-friendly with that. Like if I could just click on the little thing and get all the questions he answered, but I didn't want to scroll all the way through everything.
You know, and I stopped following Walking Dead on social media when they spoiled Beth's death. So
Right.
I don't follow the accounts for the shows because I don't want to be spoiled.
Neither do I, because we are on Alaska time, which is like 4 hours behind the East Coast.
Right.
Yeah. So I have to actually go look up the pages because I also unfollowed them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Colby Holman. Hopefully we see more of Wes in the show because I think he was a good addition.
Yeah, I thought he was a really talented actor, and I was thinking about just kind of the feel of the show this week, and I did feel like everybody was pretty believable. I didn't get taken out of the story quite so much. I did by the Logan stuff. I wasn't really excited about that, but I
was
thought
just going to ask you.
But I thought that the stuff with Wes, he just played it really well, and he was really easy to see in that role and believable in that role.
Yeah, and so are we going to get into our good, bads, and uglies?
No, we're going to talk a little bit about Whisperer's Corner. I don't have a whole heck of a lot, and then we will get into our goods, bads, and uglies.
Okay, because Wes is my good. So
very good.
We'll get there.
So Paul Tassi, the title of his article this week was "So Much for Fear the Walking Dead Bringing Back Madison Clark." I gotta say, I never really thought Madison was coming back. I think the fan base that was thinking Madison was coming back was kind of deluded.
Yeah, honestly, could you see Madison, quote unquote, coming back and just like going around painting trees? No, she'd be looking for her kids, right?
Right.
She would have no idea that Nick is dead, and she would be searching for her children because that's what she did.
Yeah, it totally didn't work for me, so I don't understand how everybody could get distracted by that. And I've got to ask you, and this is a little bit of rotting potpourri, it seems like Alicia really thought that it might have been Madison.
Yeah, I think there was a small part of her that thought that and that was hoping that, and that's what was driving her to find the author. So.
Yeah. They kind of implied it. And I agree. It was just a little, it was very quick, but they really implied. I mean, Victor said something like, it's not who you think it is, or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Also in Whisperer's Corner, because it was a light week, I did manage to find Eric Kane's article, and it was titled, "Fear the Walking Dead, More Incoherent Nonsense, Very Little Fear." And he described in his review this season as consistently terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say I was pretty much feeling Eric and Paul this week.
I really, really was too. There was only one thing with Eric's that I didn't agree with. Let's see. Oh. Yeah, I cannot find it, darn it.
That's why you have to take notes.
I was just reading the article, so yeah, he said something and I'm like, no, that was explained away. So yeah, but I was definitely feeling both of their articles this week. But I thought Paul Tassi's article about the ratings was interesting because he makes a good point. It's still number 3 for the for AMC.
Well, and the thing that I saw on Reddit when I was looking at that explanation of ratings was that networks that have established shows, and they specifically talked about like Flash and Arrow, they will tolerate a dip into ratings as low as the 18 to 49 ratings that we're seeing with Fear, because overall they feel like it's still a moneymaker. And
right.
I kind of feel like that's the way AMC is approaching Fear.
And I get frustrated with both because I'm like, please don't let a show that I love die a slow, painful death. But I'm also like, Netflix, quit canceling stuff when I really like them.
I've got to say, again, as much as there was some stuff that I really liked in this episode and that kept me going, this was the first time where I really was like, am I done?
I'm not done. Like I just have so much hope. They keep stringing me along. Like every time I'm like, next episode looks really good, and Andrew Shambliss says it's going to get better. So I'm a sucker.
You are.
I am.
All right, just a little bit more in Whisperer's Corner. So I shared the video of Kaylee Fleming opening her Judith Grimes pop figurines.
That's right.
Because it was so cute. Phil sent it to us, and then I put it on our Biters page tonight. So definitely go take a look at that if you want to smile about something Walking Dead related.
Yeah.
There was an article on comicbook.com that was really, really pretty harsh. I mean, overall, the reviews about this episode were pretty harsh. Mm-hmm. But it kind of detailed the fan discussion on the official Twitter page. And
yeah.
It sounds like the reception of this episode was very negative.
And that's it. They described it as boring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so funny because of the GIF that you sent me where you're like, I'm so bored.
Oh, God, that's so funny because I hadn't even seen that article yet. But
exactly. So you totally felt the same way.
Well, and so that was where I saw the thing about the showrunners teasing a big change in this season and reinventing season 6. So we'll see what they do. I think they're just trying desperately to hang on to their jobs at this point.
They could pretty much do anything at this point. They could kill Alicia and Strand and reboot with an entirely new cast, or they could kill everyone but Alicia and Strand. Like, they could do anything and it would still be more interesting than what's going on right now.
I want to talk a little bit about Logan, but we'll get there.
We'll get there.
All right. The only other thing I had was I ran across a fan theory that Jadis and Wes must know each other because they're both artists, which I thought was a really stupid fan theory, but I thought I'd throw it out there.
That's like saying that Wes's brother is Heath. I saw that too.
Because they have the same hair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Yeah. And I will repeat that in the first episode that we saw Wes in, for like 0.001% of a second, I thought it was Heath. Like, just they flashed on it and I was like, oh, nope.
It's specifically because of the way they had his hair.
Right. And they've kind of done that to us before with when we thought we saw Heath as a walker.
Right.
And
they totally faked us out with a walker.
Yep. So I think they're doing it on purpose.
Probably. All right.
Me along.
That's all I had in Whisperer's Corner. The news was really, really thin this week.
Yeah. So
since Wes was your good, tell us about Wes.
So I really like how Wes, his mannerisms, he's real. He, like, not just his mannerisms, the way he was pushing back on Alicia and her kind of sullen girl PTSD routine. I just, he was basically just like, people are people and this is the world we live in now. And, I thought for the most part, he was a very realistic character. He kind of seemed like somebody that I might be in the zombie apocalypse, where it's like, you just have to move on. You have to, like, just live and let people be people. And, like, yeah. So I kind of identified with his character much more so than our shell-shocked Morgan and Alicia.
It's interesting. The thing that kind of leapt into my mind is fully realized. I mean, he's a fully realized human being.
Yes.
Whereas right now, it's kind of feeling like our main cast are caricatures.
I don't even think Morgan's Morgan anymore.
No, they have really, really done a number on that character, and it's devastating when I think about meeting Morgan in the first episode of the main series.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all fell in love with Morgan then, and it's really, really hard to see what they're doing with this character.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I actually had a good also. It was hard, but I had a good. Um, I liked the twist of Wes being the tree painter. I did not see it coming.
see, and I'm a little disappointed with that. Not that I wanted it to be Madison or anything, but I'm just like, what are the chances of like you on a quest for the painter of the trees and just so happen to come upon him? I was like, okay.
I just
I'll,
really liked the way she discovered it. Like, he didn't say it, he didn't confess to it, even though he knew that she was looking for the painter, and then she found it at the end of his manuscript. I really liked that.
I did like that too. I like how he didn't come out and say it. He kind of sat back and was like, I wonder where this is going.
So that's my good. It was relatively small, but I liked the twist.
All right. So, my bad. So, we said we'd talk about Logan, and we're going to talk about Logan.
All right.
So, I cannot remember the article that pointed this out for
Oh,
me, but I'm.
it was an Uproxx article, and it was basically
Oh,
like Logan is a pathetic excuse for a villain.
yes.
And I
He's a
actually
very.
wrote in my notes while I was watching the show, before I looked at any articles, Logan is no Negan.
Yeah, not very villainous villain because so at first we thought he was the big bad and then he's like I'm not in charge and he's taking orders from the group and now he speaks for everyone and it's all over the map. And Uproxx did point this out where it's like why be all loosey goosey about the oil field? Why not just either follow them wherever, have on the sly, not with a big rig, but just follow them to the oil field. Or, I don't know, put a gun to their head and make them tell you. That's, just a thought. That's what Negan would do. I mean, he'd probably just bash one of their heads in and be like, okay, I'm just going to keep doing this until you tell me.
Well, and so since we're on the topic of Logan as the bad, which he was not my bad, but this is in my writing potpourri, he keeps hinting at this being bigger than all of them and there being some huge thing that's going to be like revolutionary with the oil fields.
Yeah, so when we first saw him break into the bank that Al and Morgan were just in, and people were like, how did you know this was here? Like right before that, it was like, how did he know this is here? And so then they had to explain how he knew this was there, and it's much bigger than anyone thinks. Okay.
So part of me is irritated and part of me is holding out hope that it might actually be something that brings the series back to a more interesting place.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. Like a part of me is annoyed and the other part of me is hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Very conflicting emotions this week.
But overall, when I saw the thing about Logan not being a very villainous villain, I was right on the same page as that writer.
Yeah. So I had a little extra time before the show, and I read a bunch of articles, which I don't normally do because I like my opinions to be my opinions and not. But I felt so the same way as so many of the articles that I read this week. So maybe I should read them more often because
or maybe not, because it will make it even harder to appreciate fear.
well, they didn't like quite talk me over the ledge or talk me back from the ledge, but I know that I'm not alone on this ledge. You jump, I jump, remember?
Right. Completely.
So Logan was not your bad. What was your bad?
So they have just utterly destroyed Strand as a character for me. I was really reflecting back to when we first met Strand, and I described him in my notes as a vicious grifter.
Oh, yeah.
I remember him totally trying to use Nick's addiction and totally trying to get a foothold with Nick because of his addiction. And he was just so interesting and dark, and I loved him. And now he's just they've emasculated him.
Yeah.
I mean, the scene where he's laying on the bed going, we have to go save the person who's shot. We can't let him die. I'm like, that's not Victor. That's not my Victor Strand.
No.
So
No.
I'm really disappointed. And even last week, and I didn't say it when we were going through our writing potpourri, but I actually wrote in my notes, does Victor even believe the crap that's coming out of his mouth?
Yeah, this whole do-gooder storyline, I didn't even think of Victor because I'm so distracted with Morgan and Alicia. So you make a good point. Like, I do miss the complex Strand.
Yeah, I just feel like he's not interesting anymore. He's not Victor anymore. And I understand that people change and evolve, but the direction that they take in this character, like Morgan, is really disappointing. It's just really ruined the things about the character that were interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So that was my bad.
So my ugly. Speaking of characters that have not evolved, but they've devolved, you know how I love Alicia and her badassness.
Well, and again, I thought of you a lot because we
Yeah.
didn't see that with Alicia this time. So you go, girl.
I like this episode, this whole PTSD where she got spattered with a walker's blood or had to slice her way through the horde, like caused her to not be able to kill the dead. I don't believe it. I get, here's the benefit of the doubt. Here's the ugly. I get that you're probably really exhausted and like just totally deflated because, all of the people that you try to help, like you can't help them, or you do help them and it's, all for nothing. Or I get that she's probably exhausted and depressed and just totally over the zombie apocalypse, which is why they should stop trying to help people and just go settle down somewhere with all their supplies. So my ugly was Alicia's Sullen Girl PTSD episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because she got over it super quick.
Well, she did.
Which is good, but that's just kind of not the way PTSD works, usually.
Right. And it's just another character that it's really difficult to see the direction that they've taken her in.
Yeah, I hope this was kind of a one-off and she goes back to being the Alicia we know and love.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's been a big part of the show that has kept me positive for like 3 years.
I have to tell you, by the way, that there were some moments where, especially when she was riding in the car with Victor and Wes, that they focused in on her face, and I thought, they've got a really weird filter on her, and she almost looks fake. She almost looks animated.
Oh, that's funny because the found footage episode, the very first shot of her is when she's filming the interview with Al. And I honestly was like, she looks like she's 10 years younger than she normally looks in the show. Like, she looks baby-faced. So that's kind of funny that you mentioned she looked different this episode, because I've noticed she's looked different in 5B.
It was really weird. It was like somebody using an Instagram filter.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
So what was your ugly?
Well, I kind of took a page from your book. I didn't have anything that was really good or bad, or I had things that were good and bad, and I decided that it was just ugly.
Exactly.
So this episode really had some of my favorite moments for this season, and possibly even for this series. So I really liked it when Logan was tormenting Morgan, and when he said helping other people isn't going to make you feel better about not helping them.
See, okay. Yeah, that didn't work for me.
I loved it. And, it was right after that awful line where he was talking about non-stupidism. And I wrote down, oh my God, someone really wrote that as a line. Matt Frewer really had to deliver that as a line. That was one of my things in my ugly that was kind of the bad moments. But then right after that, he follows it with totally tormenting and getting under Morgan's skin. And I thought that was so good.
Okay, so I think since we had these two writers that like there was very conflicting things going on in the writers' room, because I had the same feelings about some of Wes's dialogue. He repeated himself like a parrot that, it's like, we don't have a line, so we'll just say the thing over again, So it was very mixed writing this episode.
Although he had one of my favorite moments too, and this is in my ugly, when he says to Alicia, "Yeah, I know, I saw the movie. I don't need you people to heal my wounded soul." I was like, there's Wes saying what all of us have been saying about this do-gooder plotline for the last several episodes. There's Wes just calling it home.
Exactly. That was part of my good in like when she's like, I had a brother die too. And he's like, yeah, we're so alike.
Right. Yes, totally. I mean, there was some great writing for that character. And I agree. The writing room must have been just a mess because there were such good moments and such terrible moments in this episode.
I was going to say, it's like they wrote two different scripts and cut it up and just picked out of a hat.
Right. Well, and another thing that I wanted to say that was part of my ugly in terms of good was Morgan saying, "I'm not a ghost, I'm not just who I lost." And I realized tonight when I was rewatching that he was repeating Al's lines back to her, but I really liked that moment of realization for him.
So I had a moment of realization for him in this episode because I had initially written, why is Morgan so sensitive about his wife and son? Going at Logan the way he did. And he said later on, he's like, I'm afraid of losing the good with the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that doesn't seem like, this is not the wise old Morgan who, went through Clear and Eastman and all that kind of, he's not the same guy. But then one of the articles pointed out that he's having feelings for Grace, which is why he left, because he's super conflicted about moving on with Grace because of his wife. And he doesn't want to lose that when he doesn't want to lose the good with the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Grace's future is unknown. So he's got kind of a complex emotional thing going on, and I don't think he quite grasps it yet. So I initially, that was actually going to be my bad, was like Morgan's little outburst, and then there was a little more thought put into it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, so I kind of liked some of the moments that we had with Morgan, and it was the first time in a long time that we haven't had a lot of preachy moments with Morgan.
Yes.
We had some dialogue that was just him being really introspective and really thinking about his experience.
Yeah.
But, then on the flip side, my bad, versus Alicia being incapacitated the way that she was, versus the horrible lines that were written for Logan, including the non-stupidism and the big boys and big girls lines. His lines were awful. And
it's a bad villain.
Well, and it's such a waste of an interesting actor.
Yes, agreed.
So, and then, see above regarding Victor Strand. So my ugly was just that. It was ugly. I was so torn by some moments that I really liked in this episode and by some moments that just really ruined it for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought of that, the whole two different scripts and picking it out of a hat. Like that just seems like this episode, it was so scattered and all over the place with its emotional complexity.
It was a really challenging episode, but it wasn't horrible.
No.
Tom O'Mara actually wrote me in privately and said, you're gonna have to be talked off the ledge on this one. And I was like, there were some moments, definitely yes, but there was some stuff that I really liked about this episode too.
Yeah, so I that's why I rated it slightly higher than last episode, because everyone liked last episode except for me. Apparently, I'm in the minority this season, which is probably why I'm so exhausted. But Yeah, so I didn't dislike it like I did last episode, but I also really didn't like it. So, but I remain hopeful. Like they keep stringing me along.
All right, so let's get into our rotting potpourri.
Yes, let's. So, that guy was gonna die for a manuscript. What?
Yeah, I
What?
I don't understand that. I mean, was there something else that he was ripping off and the manuscript was just part of it, or
And on the flip side of that, Wes was willing to kill a dude for it. Like, I think what I gleaned from his conversation with Alicia that he had never killed before, and he
that
was
was what I
willing,
understood as well.
and he's willing to kill this guy for a manuscript.
Do you think it's because of the relationship in his head between the manuscript and his brother?
Ultimately, yes. So at the end of the episode, he sees that tree that's got the same phrase on it, but it's not so elaborately written. So I kind of think his brother wrote that tree.
You think his brother wrote the manuscript, or you think his brother did the trees?
Both. I think the reason why he broke down at that tree is because that was his brother's tree, and he just had this whole thing with his brother's manuscript.
Interesting.
Yeah, they have to elaborate on Wes's backstory. I need them to.
I don't know that we're going to get more backstory. I hope we get Wes back, but I don't even know that we're going to get that.
I really hope we do.
So I want to go back to the open of Alicia panicking and calling for Victor to come and put down the walkers.
Right?
I thought the ultimate irony was that he used her favorite weapon to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't believe that we went from her cutting her way through a horde and being so badass that she and Strand and a couple of others took over Alicia's MRAP vehicle. Yeah, she was just, and like this episode, she was almost dead because she couldn't bring herself to kill a walker.
I actually wrote in my notes, this is the way you end up dead.
Right? I don't know. I think she's more of a survivor than that. I don't think she would ever get PTSD bad enough that she wouldn't be able to put down a walker. I can see her not being able to kill a human, but to not be able to kill an eater.
Which I liked that. Yep, we got another name. Yeah.
We got another name. I liked eater. But I can't see her being that paralyzed.
Certainly not from the Alicia that we knew. I mean, I can see her developing some PTSD, but I agree, I can't see her being so paralyzed that she can't put down a walker to save her life.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not convinced by the trajectory that Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg have given her.
No, and like I said, I really hope this is a one-off episode for that storyline.
Well, I think they've pretty much implied that we're done seeing traumatized Alicia.
Yeah.
I'm good.
And she did kill a walker at the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So speaking of that scene, I absolutely loved our opening. That shot from the tree. That was just a cool tree and a cool way to open the shot, you looking down, on the tree.
Huh.
You don't remember?
It didn't strike me the way it struck you.
I don't know. It just, every once in a while, I'm not a huge cinematic nerd, but every once in a while, a shot will just, it's kind of like the one shot in Preacher, I think in season 2. It's just, it's ingenious. Like, people are so creative and talented with, the way that they look at the world that I would have never thought to open the show on that scene. And it was interesting.
So the director gets points, but the writers were still struggling with.
Oh.
So go ahead.
That was an awfully juicy walker, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, for it being so weathered, I can't believe that it would have that much blood spatter in it. but we had to get the effect, I guess.
The gratuitous blood spatter.
Yep.
So I noticed that the thing that was different in our opening credits was a painted tree.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I watched it, I missed it. I was like, what am I looking at? What am I looking for? And then the second time through, I was like, oh, right, the painted tree.
Yeah. I when I watched it through the second time, I was like, is that the only thing? Like, I feel like there should be something else in this scene, but I guess it was kind of a big focal point of the show or the episode.
And I liked it. I mean, I actually, it was something that was interesting to me. I wish they had done more with it. I mean, I actually liked that part of Alicia's storyline. I just didn't like, as you did not, her being so incapacitated by her trauma.
Yeah. I loved the little twisty twist of them finding the bag of riot gear that didn't do so well on walkers. Did you catch that?
No, I totally missed that too.
Okay, so that was it had to be pointed out to me. So when Wes was shooting that walker and nothing was happening, it's because that was a shotgun with rubber bullets.
Oh.
Yeah, and so
but
then,
you know, rubber bullets at the right trajectory can be bad too, especially if you're talking about a rotted walker.
I was going to say, and he was also doing body shots and not like shooting a walker in the head like you should.
And what do we say? Steve and Diana.
Aim for the head.
Body shots don't work.
So there's a little piece of trivia for this episode on IMDb, and so that was the other thing with the riot gear is the thing that I think it was Strand fired into the walker. It was tear gas.
Right.
And so apparently tear gas, aka CS gas, is an irritant that burns the eyes and the airways for just a few minutes after exposure. The worst effects quickly dissipate within mere seconds, and the remaining minor irritation within minutes of leaving the area containing the gas.
Okay, I can't speak to tear gas, but I've been exposed to OC, and
well,
it's pretty bad.
This is CS. They call it CS.
So OC is actually pepper spray.
Right.
And I mean, I actually have had an asthmatic reaction to OC. I do not tolerate it well at all.
I could definitely see that. So that was my benefit of the doubt moment where I think that in this trivia, they're pointing out that Strand really would not have been incapacitated for that long.
Right.
If it was tear gas. But being someone who has hypersensitivity and an big inflammatory response and asthma, I could totally see being put down for a minor amount of time in all consideration, but longer than a normal person would. So maybe Victor just really has bad allergies. He needs a Benadryl.
Yes. June
but
and
yeah.
a Benadryl.
So I thought that was super interesting, the little twist that they were trying to kill walkers and they couldn't because they were using riot gear instead of regular weapons.
Okay, that brings something else up for me. What was Wes in his previous life that he was such a good shot?
Okay, yeah. So I was thinking about that because I'm like, he is awfully good with those handguns and moving objects. Like, I'm pretty good at hitting a target, but I can't skeet shoot to save my life. I could not get a bird if I needed to, at least with a shotgun. I maybe with an arrow. But yeah, it was kind of interesting, and he was holed up in a police station, and he was very comfortable about it. So,
which I thought that was a callback to season 1 of the main series, the police station.
Yeah, because they even went into the gun locker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yes, hopefully we get some backstory on Wes, and maybe we find out that he, I don't know, maybe security guard while he worked his way through liberal arts school. I don't know. something like that.
So I've got to say, the other thing that I had written in my notes that I was kind of struggling with as we were going through this episode was, is this moving this story forward? And I think that's what the fandom has been struggling with all season, is that it just seems like we're treading water.
Yes, absolutely. So this episode, I figured out my problem with Alicia. I have been complaining all season long that she needs to get over this whole storyline business. She needs to get the story. She needs to get everyone's story. And
you're talking about Al. You're not talking about Alicia.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Al. I'm sorry. So I figured out that I'm really disappointed that she was such a promising character in the beginning, and they have not moved her forward. We've been treading water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I wrote in my notes that Al must have a hard time choosing between the batteries for her camera or the batteries for her razor to keep her hair so neat.
I think we talked about that on her one-off episode, where it was just like, she keeps that hairline tight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So another thing that I noticed when I was looking at IMDb is the guy that Wes killed didn't even get a name. His IMDb credit was something like the Bleeding Man.
And did they enlist an actor for him?
Did. Yeah, they did.
Okay.
I didn't write it down, but there was actually an actor that was credited, but no name for the character.
Okay, because I looked on Sunday night because I thought he looked familiar and I couldn't place him, and he hadn't got the full credit in IMDb yet. So
speaking of which, our new character next week, I recognized him, and I realized tonight I recognized him from House.
Yep.
So I'm sure he'll be our featured cast member next week.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, the Bleeding Man was David Lee Hess, and I don't know. He's been in quite a lot, but nothing that I really recognize him from. The only thing that I think I might have recognized him from is from a little show called Revolution, but he played such a minor character but he's got a ton of stuff coming up.
Well, hopefully they give him more of a character name than the Bleeding Man.
But you get to say that you were on Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's something to brag about at this point.
No, that's true.
You know, a lot of stuff that I've seen, again, and not to belabor it, but here we go, is a lot of people seem to be of the same mind that they're taking a great cast of actors and taking them nowhere.
Taking them down almost. Like, I feel like Morgan's not Morgan anymore. And this episode, Alicia's not Alicia. And you pointed out that Strand's not Strand. So they've taken a great band of characters and just like regressed, like devolved them.
It's pretty tough. I'm having a tough time with it.
Yeah.
All right. I did like the tree that Alicia painted at the end. I liked the reference to Madison. I liked the reference to, was it Wilhelmina? Was that the name of the bird?
Yes. Yes. Because that was the name that was written on the tape for Madison, and that's why they didn't realize that they had Madison's tape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
I didn't even put that together. I was like, God, Alicia's a really good artist.
She must know Jadis too.
Speaking of tapes, like, where does Al keep finding these? Like, I know her batteries aren't running out. Somehow she's recharging them, but they keep leaving all of these tapes at truck stops, and now they're leaving them in a vault, and she's got more. Like, where are all these coming from? I don't even know, other than Amazon, where I would buy that specific type of tape.
That's funny.
I'm like, did she raid a warehouse of them at some point? I guess maybe because she was a reporter in her previous life that she had a giant hoard of them. I don't know. But they've got to be running low. I mean, leaving them at all these truck stops and everything, they got to be running low.
Well, and really the whole detour of stashing the tapes in the bank vault, I didn't really feel that either.
Mm-mm. No. And also, the manager of the bank would not have had the complete combination to the safe. I'm just saying, the vault, that you have dual control and double custody in banking, and not a single person. You have to have two people to open the vault.
Yeah, you would probably know that.
I worked for Wells Fargo for many years. So, yeah, that took me out of the moment just a tiny bit. That I was like, no, he wouldn't have the entire combination unless, like, his assistant manager told it to him with his dying breath.
It's the zombie apocalypse, but wait, you have to get into the bank vault.
Right? Go save the money. That'll be worth it. And, even the stuff in the safe deposit boxes, I'm like, people store documents and jewelry. I guess maybe the jewelry could be traded, but even that goes away at some point. The only commodities are like clean water, gas, weapons, Eventually, jewels just go by the wayside like cash does.
Yeah, the only thing that it would have made it meaningful for me would have been if they'd stored the journals there, which obviously was what Logan was hoping for.
Yep. He got some bad intel on that one. Which is funny because they were wily enough to follow her or know where Al was going, but they cannot find these oil fields, even though our group keeps going back to the oil fields for gas.
Good point.
Right?
Very good point.
Not a very villainous villain.
Mm-mm. All right, another thing that I liked, just so we're not totally bashing on things, I liked the fake out that guy was not turned.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I thought that was a good fake out because I totally thought that they found him turned, and he even had the walk down.
Yeah.
But then Wes had to kill him up close and personal.
And it was funny is when Wes got close to him and the guy turned around and he wasn't a walker.
Mm-hmm.
Wes looked so shocked that the guy tried to strangle him, that pushed him down and tried to strangle him. I was just like, you're shocked that the guy you shot wants to kill you?
Right.
Oh, that was a good move, by the way. The whole stabbing him in the side.
Mm-hmm. The kidney.
Because how many people, I just hate that, and maybe it's because I've been through self-defense classes where you learn to break a strangulation hold. Every time I see someone in a strangulation hold like that with someone's throttling them, basically, I'm just like, oh, just one sweep of the arm. You can come up and do a windmill motion, like just anything. It's such an easy hold to get out of. And normally you see people get strangled to death or blackout or whatever, and he comes up and just jabs him in the side, and I'm like, right on. Like, that kind of makes you a bad guy because you're killing this dude for a manuscript, but right on. That was a good kill. And then he stabbed him in the head so he wouldn't reanimate.
Right, he did put him down. Yeah.
That was very nice of him.
So, I guess the only other thing I've got is kind of what I said in my ugly, which is that I wrote, I loved and hated this episode. Definitely some great moments, also some awful moments.
So I'm liking the episode a little better talking about it and reading about it. And I don't know if it's because I identified with so many people, because I have been so against the current this season 5B that finally I'm on the same page as everybody.
Well, and I want to know what the layers are. What is the thing about the oil fields and Logan's deep game that is bigger than everybody? I do want to know that. Yeah.
And is he the leader of the group, or are they calling the shots and he's just a figurehead? Like, what's going on with that?
I think he's the leader of the group. I think that was a brief fake out of our group and they bought it.
Well, but they did have a scene where the two of the members of the gang were being very threatening towards him, and he was very kowtowed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. I don't have anything else.
I don't either.
Except we're so behind on Preacher again, and I'm just so unmotivated by the direction that Preacher has gone this season too.
Ditto. I'm even like 2 episodes behind on watching because I don't like to watch until we've podcasted the episode that we're on. So I have stopped watching.
Dude, I still have to go back and watch the one that had the soundtrack that was off.
That's right. I'll have to go back and rewatch it. So I did miss something when I was talking about the movie Libby. So you know the expression cotton picking?
Mm-hmm.
That was actually dubbed because of Elizabeth Cotton and the way she played the guitar.
Really? I would have totally thought it was about harvesting cotton.
You would think because it has such a negative connotation right now, you know. But it was because of the way she played the guitar. She played a right-handed guitar with her left hand, and the way she did it was picking with her fingers, and she was self-taught, and her name was Elizabeth Cotton, and that's where we got the expression cotton picking.
That is super interesting.
I can't believe I almost forgot that. So if you're still here, you know where that expression came from now.
Oh, well, heck. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
I think I'm good too. And I think I'm going to work on this getting posted tomorrow night. I don't think I'm posting it tonight.
That's quite all right. We actually ended early tonight too, so I'm going to go open my work laptop.
Oh, no. Go to bed.
I know. Oh.
Well, until next week.
Just remember, take it one dead day at a time. Have a good week, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.